watch a game.
Well, we could watch a good game. President Peter, Rotarians and guests, it's a different football code today, but many of you would remember that this time last year, 95,000 people at the MCG in Australia watched the great Liverpool Football Club from England play the Melbourne Victory. And that was from that game. And it just is mind-blowing to think that that is the biggest crowd that Liverpool has ever played in front of. And it happened in our country against an average team. And all of the people in the crowd had scarves and were Liverpool, and they knew the song. And many of you would know that the song is an old song, but was come out of Rodgers and Hammerstein, out of a stage show, and then was made very famous by the Liverpudlians of Jerry and the Pacemakers, which was adopted by the Liverpool Football Club. We're fortunate in South Australia that the young man on my right, Matthew Selby, has a fantastic honour in that he was put his name up, and he has been since he came from England many years ago, a great Liverpool supporter. But he put his hand up to become part of the Liverpool Football Club's representative of supporters, and he is one of 2 internationals. He represents the whole of the Asian and Pacific region for the Liverpool Football Club Supporters Club. Please welcome Matthew Selby, who can talk a little bit about Liverpool.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Just being the annoying person I am, it's not quite the biggest crowd Liverpool played in front of. There's 100,000 at Wembley. So, sorry to say that. Anyway, first of all, I'd like to thank Jeffrey for inviting me to talk to you this afternoon. Can you all hear me? I do have a loud voice, but you're all okay? I'm deaf, so if you say you can't hear me, I might not hear you. I'm here today to address you about the role I have with Liverpool Football Club. Before I get onto that, I'll give a quick overview about me, football, sometimes known as soccer, or the World Game, and Liverpool Football Club. The picture on the screen is of me in front of my favourite piece of Liverpool merchandise. You can just about see it. It's a limited edition signed print of many of Liverpool's heroes over the past 50 years. You may be able to tell from my accent, I'm not actually from Liverpool. I was born and lived in London, England. I started supporting Liverpool at the age of 8, when they were in an FA Cup final. They lost to the enemy, Manchester United, that year, but I stuck with Liverpool, and it's a love affair that has stayed strong for over 35 years. And this time, I'm pleased to say I've never looked at anyone else, no matter what lows my partner has put me through over this period. I do also have a wife and son, so football is not my only love. They often wonder which comes first, and I just say whatever's right at the time. In my younger days, I also played the great game. At school age, I played and trained 6 days a week, and later I played at a good amateur level, but never good enough to be paid for the privilege. It's actually only in the last year I stopped playing indoor football. My mind thinks I'm 21, but my body knows differently, and it takes a week to recover from one game to the next these days. I think probably a few people here probably know the feeling as well. Not originating from Liverpool, I've always supported them from afar. When I was a child, I was mainly listening to the radio with some TV highlights. Then I went to a few games in London. Hopefully. Yeah. Is that next there? Yeah. Sorry about that. My first game was in 1978 when I saw West Ham v Liverpool at the West Ham ground in London. Liverpool won 2-0 and I still remember the goals being scored. I went with my grandfather, who was a lifelong West Ham fan. He still went to the games until the age of 94 when he died, so football is in my blood. As I got older, I went to more games to a point where I went to all of them, travelling around the country week in, week out. Now, the crest you can see on the slide show the changes over the years. Hopefully you can all see it. When I started supporting them, it was the second one from the left. Actually, the one on the right is the liver bird. It's not actually the crest, it's just a mythical bird that is associated with Liverpool. You may have seen it around. I often managed to somehow to get work trips to coincide where Liverpool were playing. And I even went to a European Cup final in Germany via our Brussels office. And what was better, my firm paid for it all for me. There have been many memorable games, and I could talk about the highs for hours. The best for me is probably the 1986 FA Cup final, when there was 100,000 people there, and we beat our rivals Everton 3-1 and won both the Cup and the League that season, the double. My worst football experience was the Hillsborough tragedy in 1989. I was there and lost some fellow supporters who I travelled with regularly to see the games. Once I had a child, the time and money I had to spend on football diminished, so I cut back and only went to home games and a few away ones. Watching football is like a drug. Honestly, I've never taken any, but the more you go, the more you want to. And if you miss just one game, you think you won't survive. But however hard it is you do, and you can get yourself off the habit. As well as going to games, I was also on the committee from 1986 to 2004 of the London branch of the Liverpool Supporters Club. One of the duties was to present the Branch Player of the Season award, and you can see me in my younger days with Steve McManaman, Mark Wright and Michael Owen receiving their awards. In 2004, I emigrated to Australia with my Australian wife and 4-year-old son, Owen. Many people were surprised that I'd leave my beloved club, but luckily technology and TV has made it possible to watch every game live. I'm not certain I could have made the move 10 years previously. In fact, overseas TV gets more live English games than they do in England. Now I'm in Adelaide, I'm the president of the local supporters club here as well. Being part of these groups in various roles, from committee member, secretary and president, helps make long-term friendships. Indeed, the past couple of times I've been to Liverpool, I've literally bumped into people I haven't seen for 20 years, and we got on as well as ever. It may be a bit of a cliche, but meeting like-minded people is very good for you. You really can't beat long-term relationships, friendships. More closely to home, I'm heavily involved in the local game, being part of an advisory group with the governing body, the FFSA, and vice president of the Modbury Jets semi-professional team. Just a bit about football. In the last official football census, 209 football associations were registered, with 270 million participating, which is 4% of the population. Doing some research on this, it actually appears there are under 200 countries in the world. I do wonder how FIFA manage that. Then you just look at the World Cup going to Qatar. They do have funny ways of accounting things.
Very much.
Still, the fact is, football is a massive game played globally. In Australia, does anyone know what ranked we are? We are 76. The highest we've been was 14 in 2009. But in participation, we're the 20th most played, so the game's getting big. The participation in Australia is getting bigger all the time. It's believed the reason is threefold. Children are more exposed to the game and want to play. Parents want to protect their little ones from more physical games like Aussie rules and rugby. And parents see what huge wages the top earners get and would like to retire off their offspring. Now a bit about Liverpool. Liverpool, formed in 1892 and was still the most successful English team. We had unrivaled success both locally and in Europe in the 1970s and 80s, only out of the top two once in 19 years. In that time, we also won the European Cup 4 times and many other domestic trophies. For those of you in the audience who are not great followers of the game, you may believe that Manchester United and Chelsea are the really big teams. They have only had their major success since the game was rebranded in 1992. TV started running the game and new money and new fans came on board. This does have a lot of positives. Is the game better now than it was back in the day? I'm not sure, but again, that's a whole different discussion. Our home ground, Anfield, although not the biggest, is one of the most famous and certainly the loudest in Britain. Opposing players, including captains of international teams, when playing for their clubs, have admitted to being intimidated by the wall of noise the crowd creates. The Adelaide Crows refer to their fans as being the 19th man. The Anfield crowd, mainly the fans in the Kop, which you can actually see there, the largest stand, has been known as the 12th man for over 50 years. A BBC documentary about the stadium, the noise and the fans was even broadcast in the 1960s, such is its uniqueness. Over the past 20 years, the club has not had the success of the previous years, but there are strong signs that we're getting back to the top. Last season we almost won the league. The new season starts in a few weeks, and the club and fans are hopeful of another good year. The reason for the decline wasn't sudden, but more of a slow one since 1990. Our manager and former great player, Kenny Dalglish, suddenly resigned, leaving us in the lurch. We now have a good manager, Brendan Rodgers, and are owned by an American company, Fenway Sports Group, who also own the baseball team, the Boston Red Sox. They are financially sound and are doing a great job. We are now run professionally and are in good hands on and off the pitch. What made Kenny resign in 1991? He was still young, well loved, very successful, and we thought would be in charge for years to come. It was stress, created not only from trying to manage the team, but from the events almost 2 years before, April 15th, 1989, the darkest day in football, the Hillsborough disaster. Football was traditionally a working man's game, with most stadiums having been built pre-World War II. There was a hooligan element around the world, not just in the UK, and a government that was anti the sport, with little or no investment in the game. Fans were often treated like animals in unsafe conditions and being fenced in. At Hillsborough in 1989, 96 Liverpool fans needlessly lost their lives due to authorities mishandling the situation and not giving good advice. I don't really want to talk about how the reason why this happened or get into a political discussion, but I'm happy to take any questions about the disaster at the end. However, it is because of this event that football changed. Standing on terracing was banned, stadiums upgraded, and suddenly the game was reborn and came into the modern era. Although 96 people needlessly died, the event on that day means that we, the fans, are treated better and can enjoy watching the games in comfort. Now, we get on to the main reason I was invited to talk to you today, the Liverpool Supporters Committee. As far as I know, only two clubs have them, Liverpool and Arsenal. I believe ours was the first, and it was originally formed in 2011. The committee was formed for the following aims: to establish a forum for supporters to communicate directly with the club in a structured manner, to help the club better understand the issues that most affect and concern our fans, to give the club an opportunity to explain the thinking behind the decisions, to enable fans to play a key role in helping the club achieve success on and off the pitch, to provide a greater degree of transparency about the key issues that affect supporters. Long term, the club would like to see an enhanced relationship between Liverpool Football Club and our supporters, ensure fans feel their loyalty is valued by the club, and help improve Liverpool Football Club for the benefit of supporters. The role of the committee. As an elected member of the Liverpool FC Supporters Committee, each individual has a duty to liaise with fans from the group they represent and ensure they best serve their interests in meetings with the club and the owners. There are 12 elected members on the committee, and you can see the constituents they represent. Local. Can you all say it actually? Local supporters. So season ticket holders and members. non-season ticket holders, families, female fans, LGBT. That always gets a laugh, that's what they are. Ethnic minorities, disabled supporters, away fans, official supporters clubs, International East, which is a small, easy job, which is just Europe and America. And then the largest, and I think the best, International East, Asia, Africa, Australia, New Zealand. We also have an Honorary President, who is the granddaughter of the late Bill Shankly, who is the man who made Liverpool what it is today. He was our manager from 1959 to 1974. It's a 3-year term with 4 places up for election annually, so the group always gets new blood and we don't go stale in our work. To be elected, a formal application is sent to the club, and the committee president and senior members of the club shortlist 3 people per constituency. After this, an online poll on the Liverpool website is run for a week, with only 1 vote per IP address, for those computer literate people here, allowed, so it is done very fairly. The election poll for the next 4 people goes live this week, and I look forward to meeting and working with the new people next month, although I will miss some good friends I've made over the past year. We have a committee charter, and we, along with the owners, have to attend at least 2 meetings a year, or else we can be replaced. If the owners don't attend, all we can do is disappoint them. We can't replace them. We have our own section on the Liverpool website, Facebook page and Twitter handle, so fans can contact us and always see what we're doing. And as an aside, the Liverpool website was, and maybe still is, the world's most viewed and used sports team website in the world. That's just our Facebook page. We meet together 4 weekends per year in Liverpool. It's a busy weekend with several meetings to attend. First, we have an open fans forum where any fans can raise issues with us. We ban mobile phones at our meetings.
No, we get rather a large fine usually.
Make sure it's not mine, actually. It's not your level alone, so it's not. Then we have our own committee meeting where we discuss the fans forum and prepare for our 3rd meeting, which is with the club's senior management, board, owners and other key personnel. Finally, we can watch a Liverpool game at Anfield. For many on the committee, they will be seeing the game anyway, but for me and some of the others, it's a great opportunity to see the mighty Reds in action. The role is voluntary, with no benefits. I purchased my own ticket to see the game. However, my flights and accommodation for the weekend are paid for by the club, and I usually go for about a week to catch up with family and friends. Just sort of no perks. I tell everyone there are any. What do we do? I always say we're the conduit between the club and the fan base. Our role is very varied, and I'll go into a bit of detail as what we do collectively and individually in no order of importance. I get approximately 40 emails a month from fans all over the world, not just my region. They vary in content considerably, and in the past month I've had requests from fans wanting a trial at the club, suggestions who we should sign and sell, information on buying tickets and having tours of the ground, signed shirts for terminally ill fans, items to be sent for fundraising, requests to open new supporters club branches, information about the pre-season tour. And in the past 10 days alone, I've had 6 requests from fans in Poland wanting autographs. Poles seem obsessed with sports autographs, got no idea why. Where possible, I reply directly and help when it's general queries. As you can imagine, we have no say on the playing side, so to these queries I politely reply, it's out of my remit, but appreciate them taking the time to write in. For the charity requests, I work with the charity department and we help where we can, but not each and every request can be fulfilled. Sadly, we do get people asking for items for friends who they say are terminally ill. It's pretty obvious they're after signed memorabilia for themselves. I'm a pretty good judge of people, if they're genuine or not, and with a few questions you can weed them out before I go to the club asking for a donation. One particular request does always stand out. I feel proud to have helped a young fan from India who won a competition with our major sponsor for a trip to Liverpool with tickets to a particular game at Anfield. Unfortunately, he didn't receive his visa in time and missed the game. You can imagine his disappointment, and after the excitement of winning the competition, to see his idols then missing out because of red tape. He contacted me when I was new to the role, and through communication with the club, sponsor of the competition and the fan, he managed to live his dream. Each and every time I'm able to provide some useful advice to a supporter in the international East region, or put them on to the appropriate person at the club to address their issue, I feel good, as I have helped another Liverpool fan, which is my aim and why I was elected. Each quarter, when we get together, our main meeting has a topic, depending on what we think is relevant. Our stadium is about to be upgraded to get an extra 15,000 seats, so we discussed that last time. Our next meeting in August is focusing on memberships. This will be an interesting debate, as there are currently a 40-page document circulating amongst the committee with complaints from fans re the new membership rules. Great reading, I tell you. As with any big organisation, it's not always one big happy family. We, the fans, don't always like decisions the club makes, and the club is not happy with the way some supporters groups go about some activities. The Liverpool Supporters Committee is totally independent. We have representatives of supporters groups amongst us, and we talk to fans from all walks of life and ensure all their views and queries are fed back to the club. The club made the decision about 18 months ago that we're the only group they'll speak to directly. This is now having a positive effect. Just a couple of things I think we've gained since my time there. The major win we've had since I was elected has been around match tickets. Every Liverpool game sells out and tickets are hard to get and the prices are going up, so a lot of our work involves ticketing and pricing. For cup games from now, we have reduced prices for young adults, meaning students and low earners can get to see the club at a good price. This will be extended next year to league games too. This is a major policy change. It has meant the top end prices have gone up slightly more, but overall it's a definite gain for many. Something I'm delighted has happened, and hopefully sports fans all over the world will benefit when more new fans get through the turnstiles. Other sports and teams will hopefully follow suit. A few years ago, a national rate phone number became the only way for fans to contact the club. This was not as cheap for fans using mobiles or ones who live locally, so a Liverpool local number has been reintroduced. This is not headline news, but does affect many people every day and has been well received by many fans. Now, my ultimate aim. Almost a year ago to the day, as you've seen, Liverpool played in Melbourne, and you saw in the introduction. It was the first time Liverpool played in Australia. I want to get us back here again soon. I've no direct influence in making this happen, but I've spoken to the CEO and he would like Liverpool to come back. With all things these days, it comes down to finance. If we find the money, Liverpool will come. The SA government are keen to get Liverpool here at the Adelaide Oval. We're bigger than Malaga, I can tell you. I don't think they currently have the money, but I'm sure a major sponsor can be found and we can make it work. Victoria gained many millions of dollars from hosting the Reds, so surely we can do the same. And now, if anyone does have any questions, if I'm right out of time, feel free.
Out of time, sadly.
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry about that, I'm out of time.
That's right. Matthew will stay for a few minutes if anybody would like to ask some questions, because really, I guess that we don't realise as a community how powerful the English Premier League and these clubs are. And one can only wish one day that some of our own codes of football, and I sort of have an association with rugby as well, and one would remember some years ago when the rugby union decided to give everybody yellow scarves for Australia games. And guess what you saw around the crowds? And it surprises me that in our AFL teams, we really haven't come to grips with how powerful what can happen around the ground can be. I think that what we showed with Liverpool and the way Liverpool does it the way lots of clubs do it around the world in football, the traditional football, we have a lot to learn still. So would you mind thanking Matthew for giving us an insight into how one of the great clubs of the world operates? Thank you.